So our students are going to share what it was like for them to apply, how they adjusted to life at UMass, what their experience has been like here on campus. We really want you to be able to leave today with a sense of what your experience at UMass could be like. Um, so we can start with introductions. My name is Meredith McCallion. I'm an admissions counselor specifically for international admissions here at UMass. I'm also a UMass graduate myself. I graduated in 2018 with a degree in Japanese language and literature. So I'm very excited to have come full circle and be back, representing UMass in the admissions office now and hopefully helping more students find their homes here like I did. So I'm joined by two of our current Indian students, Suhana and Ishan, um, who are also part of our wonderful team of tour guides here on campus. So I will go ahead and let them introduce themselves. Suhana, if you want to take it away.
Hi everyone. So my name is Sahana. I'm a double major in biochemistry and molecular biology along with neuroscience. And I literally yesterday added a new minor, which is theater because I thought why not? I'm also a sophomore. I'm a member of the Commonwealth Honors College. And on campus, I'm pretty involved with like research and some other like STEM related clubs. And obviously being a tour guide as well. And I'd love to like get to know you guys. So feel free to like type down what you want to study or like your name, where you're from in the chat. I'm from Mumbai, India.
All right, I'm gonna go next. Hey everyone, my name's Ashan. Sorry for my voice, I'm just a little congested. I'm a senior and I'm doing dual degrees in managerial economics and psychology with a minor in information technology. And outside of classes and besides being a tour guide, as Meredith mentioned, I'm involved in some different activities across campus. First of all, I'm a part of the Student Government Association, so it's kind of like student council in high school that you guys might be having, but on a much larger scale. I'm also a research assistant at the CATS Environment and Energy Lab, which is where I do research on solar energy permitting. And I'm also a part of the Commonwealth Honors College. I'm currently completing my senior thesis. And last but not the least, I'm also part of 180 Degrees Consulting, which is a nonprofit consulting group here on campus. So we work with clients across the US and also across the world in just helping scale their operations. All right, back to Meredith.
Thank you. Um, so this is what we'll be doing today. I'm going to start by telling you a little bit about UMass Amherst. I'll try to keep that kind of quick. And then we're going to dive straight into Suhana and Ishan sharing their UMass journeys with you. We're also going to keep an eye on the Q&A pod, and we'll leave some time to answer those questions. So you can put any questions you have there. We want this session to be as interactive as possible. Our panelists are really excited to share their experiences with you. So go ahead and anything you might be curious about, go ahead and ask away, and we will answer those questions. I'm also going to save a little bit of time at the end to show you some information about our application process and our scholarships as well. And then lastly, I will share our social media and our email so that you can keep in touch with us after this session as well. So let me start by telling you a little bit about UMass Amherst so you have some context for what you're going to hear today if you're not already familiar with us. So, UMass Amherst is the flagship public university of the state of Massachusetts. So, that means we're the biggest and oldest public university in the state. We're located in the beautiful college town of Amherst, which is out in western Massachusetts. So, it's about an hour and 45 minutes away from Boston, and then 3.5 hours about from New York City. So we're right kind of in between those two major cities on the East Coast. You might be wondering, I get this question sometimes, if we're the flagship university of the state of Massachusetts, why aren't we located in the state capital, which is Boston? And the reason for that is because we started out in 1863 as what's called a land grant university. So that means we were created with federal funds to provide an education, a high quality education to a bigger segment of the population than just those private universities located in the cities. especially in the field of agriculture. So our location means that we were able to serve the community out in Western Massachusetts, which at the time was more rural and very agricultural, and also boost and contribute to the economic development out in this area as well. So that's our history, but that's not to say that UMass Amherst or the town of Amherst feels super rural or isolated nowadays. Amherst is definitely your quintessential college town. Um, so we're the largest institution out in Western Mass, but there are four other liberal arts colleges out in this area as well. Those are Smith College, Mount Holyoke College, Hampshire College, and Amherst College. And all together we make up what's called the Five College Consortium. So that's a very old, very strong partnership between our institutions. But as far as what it means for the town of Amherst, it means that there's just a very large student population out here. So there's plenty to do, plenty of restaurants, shops, places to get coffee, activities you can do. Um, you definitely don't need a car to get around because all of our students ride the bus system for free, and that takes them all around Western Massachusetts. Our students can also get to Boston or New York if they want to, go experience life in the city, or if they want to maybe take advantage of an internship in the city. So we're very fortunate with our location, and our students really like that they have this kind of community of students that's more, it's safe, it's more close knit, while they also have access to the opportunities that those bigger cities that we're near offer. Um, we are a large university. We have about 23,000 undergraduate students and 7,000 graduate students. And at the undergraduate level, we have about 1,700 international students from across the globe, with our largest student population, our largest international student population, that is being students from India. Um, we have over 90 majors across our colleges, but what we're most known for is really our computer science, our engineering, and our business. But we really do it all across the sciences, social sciences, arts. Um, we're an R1 research university, so our faculty are operating at that highest tier of research activity. So that translates to plenty of research opportunities for our undergraduate students as well. Um, Opportunities for them to get involved in research even at the, potentially from their second semester of their freshman year. It's something we really encourage, is getting our undergrads involved in that research that's going on campus. Um, so even though we're a big school, students definitely describe UMass as a place where they can find community. There's more than 400, or about 400, active campus groups and organizations, um, including a very active Indian Student Association and South Asian cultural group. So Amherst itself is diverse as well, and international students, they usually tell us that they feel, comfortable here, both socially and, academically as well. They feel supported. Um, Another highlight here is our dining, and this is definitely my favorite statistic. UMass dining has been ranked number one in the nation for 9 years running. So we have a wide variety in all of our dining commons every day, including, international options, options for students with dietary restrictions, vegetarian, vegan options, and the food is all very good. We definitely like our food here at UMass. So that's just kind of a snapshot. Um, but I think numbers and rankings and facts about our history can only say so much. So I do want to focus on our current students from India who will get to tell you more about, what it's actually like to be a student here. Um, so I have some general topics I wanted to focus on, starting with, the process of, thinking back to the process of applying to UMass. Um, so Ishan, so thinking back to when you applied to UMass, I know you're a senior now, so it's been a minute, but do you remember what drew you to apply to UMass? How did you hear about us, and what made you want to apply?
Yeah, for sure. It has been a minute. But upon thinking a little bit, I think what really drew me to UMass was Its location, as Meredith mentioned, it is a pretty quaint suburban college town. So we are located a few hours out of Boston and also a few hours away from New York. But the town itself is like super quiet, but it's not boring. It's just quiet. And I think I needed something like that. Like I needed like I needed to be in a college town more than a city, I think, because back then I realized that that I thought back then that that would have been a better experience for me, and it was. I think the community here just seemed so tight knit and it seemed so friendly, and that's kind of why I chose. And then once I came to UMass, I was obviously worried that, oh, how am I gonna get to the city, say if I'm like bored or if I like want to explore the city more. And there are direct buses that get to Boston and New York, so we have the Peter Pan bus system. We have a bus stop on our campus that services buses that go to all these cities. So almost every other weekend, my friends and I would just, catch the bus to Boston. We'd stay there for like a few days, and then we'd come back at the end of the weekend. So that's also an option if, say, you want to go explore the city instead of just staying in Amherst. But there's also so much to do in Amherst that I don't think you'd want to step out of the area to like go to go explore the city. And I think one more reason why I chose UMass or I picked UMass was all the research opportunities. There's a lot of research opportunities for undergraduate students here. Not a lot of schools like there's not a lot of there's not a lot of schools that are open to taking undergraduate students for research projects, but the professors at UMass, regardless of the major, like they're super open to having undergraduate students in their research teams in their research labs, also for one-on-one research projects. I've been in like five different research labs throughout my freshman year, trying to find the best fit for myself, and I finally have now, and I've been working in that lab since last summer. So I think it's been super fun, and it's been a great learning experience as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I really think that's a huge advantage for our undergrads. It's just the emphasis and the number of groups that you can be a part of research groups you can participate in, and then that emphasis on getting our undergrads involved with that research, even from potentially from, like you said, their freshman year. And yeah, I think that's a huge advantage for our students. Um, Suhana, I'm sure there were other schools you were considering when you were applying, um, but obviously you chose to come to UMass. So what made UMass stand out for you compared to some of the other schools that you were applying to when you were deciding where to accept?
So firstly, I was really driven by like the location because I knew I wanted to study somewhere in like Mass or somewhere in like the New England area. And then I did do like a virtual tour of like UMass and then a little bit about like Amherst. And I saw that it was a very vibrant community with that quintessential college life look. Like I didn't want to go for like a city campus or something, which is why I prefer this. Another thing was when I was applying to UMass, I had made it pretty clear that yes, I'm interested in research and yes, this is my major. And I noticed that UMass would constantly like follow up with that by sending me emails about opportunities that like UMass has that could help me like follow up with like research in biotech or in biochemistry as well. And I thought that was really cool that it was such a personalized experience and that I could always just like, there was so much to do here. It wasn't just like you do your classes, you get a degree. It's like you have so many extracurriculars that you can really like use to like build an all-rounded personality as well, which I think I really prioritized. Along with that, I also received a merit-based scholarship from UMass, which really helped bring down the cost to a more like closer to like in-state rather than and like out of state or international tuition. And it was very different from like a lot of other colleges as well. So yeah, all in all, like I really liked UMass. I love the opportunities, and it seemed like a very like affordable and also really fun place to be. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Well, we're very glad to have you, of course. Um, let me see if I can. Okay. Um, so Ishan, can you tell us what it was like adjusting when you first got to campus as a freshman? Was there anything that like surprised you or anything that was especially challenging at the beginning? Or any cultural difference that stood out when you got to campus?
Yeah, I mean, there were obviously a lot of things. Just being away from home is hard enough. But I think one thing was, I'd say definitely the weather. I know that's like a lot of people don't think about it as like a big factor in where they're going to be living. But one thing about the weather in Massachusetts that it's pretty like unpredictable. Like it's going to be cold one day and it's going to be hot the other day. So I think adjusting to that was definitely kind of it was an interesting experience. It's definitely grown on me. I love the weather now. I love the cold weather, even though it sometimes gets me sick sometimes. But I think adjusting to the weather was definitely something that was a little bit hard, especially as someone coming from Delhi, which is, hot for like 6 months out of like, or maybe like 7 months out of 12, or maybe even more than that now. So I think as someone coming from Delhi, the weather was a bit of a hard adjustment, but with a good winter coat you're gonna get through everything. Like I feel like as soon as you come here, the first thing you should be doing is going to the nearby store, TJ Maxx, Marshalls, Macy's, wherever you want, and buying the best winter coat you can find. And once you
Yeah.
have that, you're all set for like the next 4 years.
Yeah, definitely. And we're experiencing that this week too, because
Yeah.
it was summer over the weekend. I don't know. I'm no good with Celsius, so I'm just gonna say the temperature in Fahrenheit, but it was like 80 degrees over the weekend, and today it's only I woke up this morning and it's 50 and it's very cold and I had to wear my sweatshirt and my coat when I went out this morning. So we're experiencing these swings this week. But yeah, definitely once you have that winter coat you kind of learn to love it, I think, and you learn to love the snow as well.
Definitely. I think my first snow was a super valuable experience for me. I think just it was such a, I mean, it was my first time ever seeing snow in real life. I mean, I'd never been on like vacation to a place that had snow. So it was my first time seeing snow was like super valuable. And I do generally like enjoy the winters here a lot more. I just feel like I've always been a winter person. So I appreciate being in a place, that's much colder than like where I come from. And also for the Fahrenheit conversions, over the weekend it was about 28 degrees Celsius, and this morning it was like 8 degrees Celsius, just for people who
Oh,
don't.
thank you. I appreciate that because I'm really I'm no good with numbers like that.
That's totally
But
fine.
yeah, definitely a big swing. Um, Suhana, did you when you came to campus, did you like experience any culture shock or any challenges you feel like adjusting as an international student?
Um, in the beginning, a little bit, yeah, I was like, okay, I'm really far from home, and my parents just left after dropping me. And then it wasn't like a bad cultural shock for anything, I would say, because like I noticed that over here, strangers are super interactive with each other, which is not something I was used to. Because like if I was walking, someone would just like show up and be like, "Hey, I like your outfit today," and I was like, wow, okay, I can just do that to people. So I thought that was a really cool thing. That's not something I was used to. Another thing was I saw that there were a lot of like clubs and organizations here. So before I could feel like any sort of like feeling of like being excluded or anything, which I don't think I've ever felt here, because of the culture shock or anything. I was able to like meet a lot of cool people and just get to know where they're from and everything as well. Especially during Welcome Week, there's a bunch of activities and stuff. So you get to meet everyone, and everyone's slightly different. Like there are obviously going to be some culture shocks, but it's nice to kind of like learn about new cultures and also like share about your own. And I think that's also something a lot of people also like listening to.
Yeah.
So it's never been like you don't feel like you fit in just because you're from a different culture or
Mhm.
anything.
Yeah. And then for both of you, I'm also wondering, how how's been the differences between like have you noticed any differences between your high school in India and then academics at UMass? Like what are the big differences with, the classes themselves if you both want to share that as well?
Yeah, I can take that first. I think one of the things that's super different in like super different here as compared to the high school system in India is that there's a lot more emphasis on applying your knowledge than just, rote learning it. I think the system in India is super kind of, emphasizes rote learning a lot. Like you kind of just, learn something and then you go take the exam, you write out the answers, and then you're done. But here, regardless of what major you are, there's going to be a lot more projects. There's going to be a lot more interactive, like team-based assignments. Like you're going to learn how to use those concepts that you're learning in class, like in the real life. And I think it's super duper valuable. That was also like one of the harder adjustments, like because as someone who was used to just, memorizing everything and then writing everything down in an exam, to having to now like actually sit down and like digest and understand the concepts. I think it was a good transition, but it was a hard transition. And I think sorry. And I think another thing that's super different here is the difference in how the curriculum is structured. So there's a lot more so in like high school you're gonna have one midterm exam and then a final and then just that's basically all your grade is going to be tested on. Here, there's a lot more quizzes, you have a lot more discussions, you have a lot more. So the grade is broken down into a lot of more different things. And also, it's a lot more unstructured in the sense that, like in Indian schools, like, there's a certain time period where you have exams and then you have exams that entire week. In the U like at UMass, that's also the case in a lot of colleges in India. But here, like, you're gonna have, when you have exams really depends on each of your classes. So you might have, in two of your classes, you might have an exam one week. The next week you might have an exam in the three other classes that you're taking. So it's a lot like there's a lot of like variation in that sense, which is good in a sense, but also like, you might just want to get done with all of your exams in one week and not stretch them out for like 2 weeks. But it's also like you get used to it after like one semester.
And then Suhana, did you want to share too?
So in Mumbai, I did IB, so I went to this international school. Yes, there was rote learning, I would say. I think that was a big difference that I'd noticed long back before like I came here because like an international school over there was different from the regular schools because we didn't have to do as much rote learning as like others would be doing. I noticed that because we were like in IB, we had to do a bunch of like application-based questions. And I think that really helped me out here because when I take all my classes, like I just gave a midterm for biochem. And I noticed like I made this like cheat sheet with like every theoretical thing like I could ever be asked. And there was like zero theory questions. Like it's all very application based. So while you want to know what you're learning, and like the theory behind it. It's more to teach you like the logic so that you understand how to think and what ways to think. So I think what I really loved about the education here, and I think that's why I also wanted, I knew for a fact I wanted to study at like in the States or like even like in UMass is because it's a very like different approach to thinking. So when you learn biochemistry, you're not learning biochemistry, you're thinking biochemistry, if
Oh.
that makes sense. So when you see those questions, you start thinking in a certain way that'll help you tackle other problems as well.
Mhm.
And I think that kind of learning experience is way more valuable than just memorizing things and be expected to just write it down somewhere.
That's a really good way to put it. You're not learning biochem, you're thinking biochem. That's really interesting. I never really thought about it that way before.
Thank you.
But yeah, it definitely depends on what curriculum you're coming from. Because yeah, Suhana, you're IB, and that's a little. Ishan, were you what curriculum did you study in high school? Was it the CBSE
I
or?
was in CBSE, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, there's a little bit of a difference. It depends on which curriculum you're actually coming from, but definitely always when you're adjusting from, high school to the university setting, there's differences with that too. But yeah, thank you, because I'm very curious about that as well, what the differences are. Let's see. So, Ishan, how did you, I know you mentioned some club involvement. How did you like find your community on campus? Can you tell me more about, the clubs you're a part of and what those have been like? And yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So I think finding community was super easy for me. just because I think the number one thing that you should be doing if you want to find community and just make friends in your freshman year, doesn't matter if you're international or um, domestic, is really just to be open to talking to new people. And I think the best and the first kind of set of people that you're gonna meet are the people in your dorms. So wherever you're living, make sure you're talking to the people who live around you because those are gonna be your first set of friends. So that's how I kind of, met my first kind of initial friends in freshman year. That's how I kind of, opened myself up to like, you know, new friends. And I think as for club involvements, I am a part of the Sikh and Punjabi Students Association. I actually helped revive that. It wasn't like like the club had like died down a little. Like it hadn't been active for a few years. And then I worked with like somebody who graduated in my freshman year. I worked with her to kind of revive that club, and I've been like in the club since my freshman year. I was a president last year. This year I'm serving as a senior advisor. So I think that's also been a very meaningful way to kind of connect with people who share the same background as me. And also, of course, like going to all the fun events, like the South Asian Students Association, like in like the next few weeks they're hosting Garbhangra, which is like Garba and Bhangra. So like, you meet a lot of people from there. You have Mock Shadi, which is hosted by the Pakistani Students Association. That's basically like a mock wedding. I hope you guys all know what shadi means. But yeah, you have all these fun events where you meet so many people who share the same background as you. And yeah, that's how I kind of, initially found my space on campus.
Yeah, cool. There's always so many different interesting events going on campus, that the South Asian Student Association are hosting, that you guys are hosting, that the other student associations like the Chinese Student Association. There's always stuff going on. Suhana, while we're like, have you been to any events or like activities or anything on campus where that you really enjoyed or that you felt, especially connected, especially with maybe other Indian students?
Yeah, so I did like okay, so there are two that I really want to point out. The first one that I ever went to was called Fashion Ka Jalwa. It was like this fashion show with like a bunch of dance performances and good food, but like everyone dresses up in Indian. There's Indian food, Indian music, and I thought that was really nice because that was one of my first few experiences here at UMass, and I got to meet so many new people through there. I met a lot of my like current friends from that event itself, and it was just one of the most fun nights ever because like I remember dancing to like my favorite songs in like Bollywood or something from with like a bunch of new people and like getting to know them through that, eating food and eating the Indian food that was like so good, and the whole vibe was so nice because like everyone just felt like they could show that part of their identity, and it felt very like liberating somehow.
Yeah.
Another thing was last year in spring semester or freshman year, I had like we all had Holi, and that like Holi is my favorite festival from India, and I was so bummed that I couldn't celebrate it anymore now that I'm not living there. But the fact that it was still hosted on campus made it so nice. And Holi, you just take like a bunch of these like water guns and like just shoot your friends with it, and then just like run around, put color on people and everything. And we did that near like the lawn near ILC. So it was like a really big space, and we had like water slides. We had a bunch of like water guns given to us, and we could just roam around and play Holi together. And that was one of the best experiences I've had at UMass. So it made me feel like even though I am far away from home, like obviously at home we might celebrate Holi at a larger scale. The fact that it's here and I can celebrate it with new people like this, it felt really good. And
Yeah.
you could also introduce other friends. Like I took one of my friends, she's from Romania, and she wanted to just check it out. So I took her there and she loved it. Like she got to experience Holi as well. And I think that was a really cool experience.
Yeah, I think I saw the pictures from Holy on campus, and it looked like so much fun. I hope that I'll be able to like participate or even just like see it going on this year.
Oh, I hope you do too, yeah.
I want to get into academics as well. Um, so Suhana again, can you maybe tell us about, because I know you're doing a double major and you added you just added another minor. So what was the process like of, doing the like adding that second major and adding the minor, and what kind of support did you get from advisors with in doing those things?
Yeah, absolutely. It was really easy, honestly, and I expected it to be way harder because in my freshman year when I would hear seniors or juniors talk about how they double majors, I'd be so fascinated. I'm like, whoa, how'd you manage that? How'd you do that? But it's really straightforward. So when I first came here with my biochem major, I knew that I wanted to be a little bit more niche with it as well, and I love neuroscience ever since like high school. So I knew that is something I wanted to do, and I was super lucky with it because UMass literally just got the neuroscience major out. So before I was psych, and now that we got a neuroscience major, I switched. I told my advisor, I had a first year advisor. Every freshman gets a first year advisor. So told her that, hey, I'm really interested in neuroscience, and she told me about how I can apply to be a psych double major and take the neuroscience track on that. And that's exactly what I did. I just told her that, okay, so can you put me into that? And she's like, yes. She just walked me through all the requirements, what kind of classes I'll be taking. And until I was like super sure, she was like, yep, okay, now that you're sure, I can add you to that major. And that was super straightforward. If you don't ask your advisor and you still want to just join the major directly, that's kind of what I did for theater. I just wanted to join the minor. You just need to fill out like this form, and it's super straightforward. Like, hi, my name is Sahana, and this is like I want to add a theater minor. That's it. Like you don't have to like audition, you don't have to like apply or anything, since it's not one of the like competitive majors. So it's really straightforward, and there's always an advising office for every school or college at UMass. So like if I want to take a neuroscience major, that comes under College of Natural Sciences. If I meet an advisor in the College of Natural Sciences, I'll be fine to put that. I can just speak to them about it. For theater, it's in the College of Humanities and Fine Arts. So I went to one of like the advising sessions, and they just told me about it and added it. So yeah, it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, that was I when I was a student at UMass, I added an anthropology major my senior year, and I found it the same way. I think it depends on a little bit, like if you're wanting to do a minor like business or computer science, those are more in demand. So sometimes there's more requirements to be able to add those minors. But for a lot of minors that you might want to add, it's really just as straightforward as that, with theater, just like fill out the form and then take the classes, and that's all you have to do. So it's definitely, there's a lot of flexibility there in terms of being able to like add that second major, add that minor, that our students definitely really take advantage of, which I love. And Ishan, so you mentioned some research experience. So I want to know, like, obviously you had a few different positions, but I want to know, like, how did you find those? What were those like? How did you, figure out exactly what lab you wanted to be a part of, this year? I just want to hear more about your research experience at these last couple years.
Yeah. And I mean, before that, I just want to echo everything Sahana said because I'm also doing a I was doing a double major that I've turned now into a dual degree. And it was also super easy to add on my second major and also my minor. And it's really not that complicated of a process at all. Speaking of research, I think there's a couple of ways that people can go about it. I'm first gonna share how went about it and then I'm gonna share how other people might, what an alternative option might be. So the first way to go about like finding research opportunities is just to email people. If you go through like the list of faculty members in any department that you're interested in, once you go through that, and you find, each professor has like a bio, they have their CV, sometimes they have their own personal website where you can find more information about the research that they're doing. When you find that, and when you go through, say, you go through a professor's website or you go through their bio or their CV, and you think that it's super interesting, the work that they're doing is super interesting. All you have to do is send them an email and say, "Hey, my name is this, and I'm interested in this," and you attach like your resume and maybe your transcript just for their own reference. And after that, if they're interested, if they think you'd be a good match, if they think that, you are what they're looking for in an undergraduate RA, they're just going to have you on. The worst case probably going to be they're probably, looking for research assistants, but the professors here are super nice and they're going to refer you to someone who has similar research interests, and they might, encourage you to work with them instead. That's how I found my first research experience. I applied with a professor who was only looking for master's students because the project that he was working on was super coding intensive, and I was still a freshman and I hadn't had that much experience. But he very kindly suggested that, hey, this is another person in the same faculty as me. He's looking for undergraduate research assistants. He's just starting out this project. You should go work with him. I worked with him for 2 years. It was a great experience. And I think that I'm so happy that I, just took the effort to email that one professor because I wouldn't have gotten this opportunity otherwise. The second way that you can go about it is through the hours office. So in the library, which is it's on that screen, that tall red building is our library. On the 10th floor of that building is the hours office, or the office of undergraduate research and studies. That office is just meant to help any undergraduate student on campus find research opportunities. So what they do is they meet with you, they have an interview with you, and they try to match you up with someone at UMass in whichever department you want to do research in, who has similar research interests with you. I know a few friends who've gone through that process. It was super helpful. The folks are amazing. So I say that, if you are super lost and you don't even know, who to email, you don't know any professors, you're too lazy to go through the website, I'd say go to the hours office and they're going to help you out there. Hmm.
Yeah, that office is such a great resource for our students. Just show up and tell them you don't know what you're doing and they'll help you for sure. And then from both of you, I'm just because I'm curious, do you both have like what's one of your favorite classes you've taken at UMass? And it can be in your major, outside of your major, but like what's your favorite?
I guess I can just keep talking. My favorite class was this one gen ed that I took in my first semester freshman year, and it was called Com 212, or Cultural Codes in Communication. And essentially, I think that was such a valuable class to take. And I randomly took that class. I wasn't even going to take it. I kind of just added it because it was fitting in with my schedule. And that class, basically, the entire basis of that class was to see how different cultures communicate. So there's a lot of, differences in the way people in India communicate. Like Sohana said, here people are so much friendlier, like on the streets. Like you'd be walking down, people are going to say hi to you, people are going to smile at you. That doesn't really happen in India. But if somebody was from the US and they were to go to India and they would see that, they would perceive that as rude. When people in India, that's just the norm there. People, no one's being rude to you. People just don't, talk to each other on the streets. But if somebody was to come here from somebody used to come here from India, they think that, oh, people are being over friendly. Like, they think that, oh, why are people saying hi to me? So that entire class, the entire basis of that class was just to hmm, understand these different codes in communication across cultures. And I think it was such a good experience taking that in my freshman year because it really set the stage for me to, just kind of get used to the culture here in the US, which is, people are going to come up to you and chit chat, make small talk. So if I maybe hadn't taken that course, it would have been a little bit like it would have been like, it would have taken me a bit longer to get adjusted to that. But because I took that class and I understood all like the theoretical background behind all of that, I think that was such a good experience. And one of my projects in that course was we were partnered up with, one random person in class, and basically one of the people had to you know, basically have, one of the people had to do something that they were used to, and, the other person would have to report on it. So an example would be that, say, I watched football and my partner didn't watch football. I would basically go take them on a football match. But what I did for my project was me and my partner, he was a senior and he was from Massachusetts. He'd never been to India. He'd never been out of Massachusetts. We both went to an Indian restaurant. He hadn't ever tried Indian food. So we both had Indian food together for a project, and we basically just had to write an essay about that. So I think that's definitely been my favorite class I've ever taken so far.
Like that other student that's lucky that he finally got to try Indian food for the first time.
Yeah,
It's delicious.
yeah.
It's always those random like gen eds you just kind of take on a whim that you learn the most interesting stuff, right? Suhana, what about you? What's been your favorite class?
Yeah, even mine was a gen ed. It's actually a class that I'm taking right now because I hadn't taken any gen eds before this. So I absolutely like love Disney and animation, and I love it so much. I named my dog Pixar. Like I love Disney a lot.
Cute.
So when I found out that there's a class offered here and it completes like two of my gen ed requirements, and I literally learned Disney. And I learned Disney in a way where it's like we learn the culture and the history behind Disney, which I thought was super cool. Because like we understood that okay, a lot of stories that Disney has adapted has been written by these two brothers known as the Grimm's brothers. We learn about their tales, we learn about the adaptations, and then we learn about the historical context they wrote in. So they wrote about like the East Germany, West Germany conflict a lot. How does them being from West Germany influence the stories they write? And then we even got to see an East Germany company called DEFA. It's a German name, so I don't want to say the whole thing. It's just DEFA, we call it that. And basically they were anti-Disney, so they were making these spin-offs of Disney to like be anti-Disney and spread propaganda, but they were also like a very popular thing at that time. So we got to compare those, and I don't know, like learning about something that I've been so passionate about as a kid. Like my like like Prince Charming and Cinderella and those stories and how they actually had such complicated roots to them. Learn and sharing that passion with people who think similar to me. I think that is something I valued a lot because like yes, I've met a lot of people who go like, yeah, I love Disney too. I love watching these movies and stuff. But the kind of like experience that I had with it was like it was like a childhood thing that me and my sister would always do. And she loves like film, so she would like analyze and dissect those movies and tell me about it. And I finally got to meet more people who also did that as well, rather than just like watch the movie.
Yeah.
And that made me feel very nice that, okay, other than my major, there's also something else that I have going on, and I can talk about that with other people as well.
Yeah,
But yeah.
I think I mean, that sounds really, really cool. I feel like that would be right up my alley too. And like, it's so cool that there's so many subjects that you can take that it's like something you're interested in and it counts as your gen ed, or in your case, it counted as two gen eds, which is very lucky. So I think that's like one of the big advantages of being at like such a big university with so many, majors and classes offered is like, yeah, you have to take these gen eds as well that are outside of your major. And sometimes I've heard some students complain about having to, take these gen eds when they just want to focus on taking classes within their major. But really, you learn the most interesting stuff and you can take classes that you're actually interested in. Um, yeah, it's definitely there's a lot out there that you can explore. Um, and I think yeah, I want to talk about housing too. So Hannah, you again, sorry. How has your experience been living on campus? Did living on campus, did it help you, meet people and settle in more easily as like an international student?
Yeah, totally. It definitely did because I applied to be in a part of a RAP, which is like this residential academic program. So you basically they're like these living and learning communities. So the people that I was staying with, like on the same floor, we all ended up taking the same biology class. This was in freshman year. So biology like one and two, I did it with those people. And it was really nice because like I got to meet people like new people right off the bat. And I know these are the people like I'm going to be seeing quite a bit because they were similar majors to me. So I knew that I'm going to have them in a lot more classes. That's how I met one of my like really close friends. That's how I met my roommate, and I'm actually still rooming with her again. So clearly it worked out. And yeah, just like we got to like study together a bunch, get food together, and it was really nice discussing the same like class stuff with them. And it was also like having your own community there. Also, living on campus means you're like way closer to all your classes, which is so convenient. And the way like I have to walk to my classes is gonna be through like student union, and student union is this place where we have like a bunch of like activities. So like every time I go to my class, there's always some pop-up stand saying like something, and I'm just like so distracted. Like, should I just check out the stand before going to class? Because it's so cool. I love the community because over there everyone's just like trying to like either sell something or talk about their club or organization they're part of. And everyone's just so interactive with each other on campus. And I feel like I love spending my time here outside rather than just like going back to my dorm or anything. So freshman year, that was the case. And then in sophomore year, I got to get a suite, which is really nice because right now I'm in like the living room of my suite rather than finding a spot to be on a virtual call so I don't wake up my roommate. So it's really nice how there are a bunch of different housing options available and you can pick whatever's best for you. So sharing a suite with my closest friends felt really nice. And that way I can also just like have a sense of like comfort here, but also like go out and explore like the student union areas or go to my classes as well. So I think living on campus is definitely an experience because there's just so much happening all the time that you can't predict it because UMass always has something going on. And no matter what, you're never going to be bored because you're just walking to class and suddenly you see there's like a whole fair. So I'm just like, wow, okay.
Yeah. There's always so much going on campus.
Yeah.
It's like stuff you might randomly walk into or walk past. So living on campus, definitely you're stumbling into a lot of like the different events the different clubs and stuff are holding all the time, which is cool. Because a lot of times there's also free food at those types
Yeah.
of it's just like a pop-up with free food. Which actually speaking of the food, because UMass dining obviously has a big reputation. Um, so, Asham, what do you think of the food on campus? Do you have any like favorite dining halls or any meals that remind you of home? Can you get food like that's as good as the food back home on campus?
I mean, yeah, definitely. We like I was vegetarian when I first started off at UMass in my freshman year, and until the end of my sophomore year, I was vegetarian. So, um, obviously coming in, I was very worried about being able to find food options. Just given the reputation that Americans don't eat vegetarian food. I was super scared. I'm like, oh, how am I gonna find food on campus? But UMass dining is super accommodating when it comes to that. There's vegetarian options, vegan options, gluten-free, halal, kosher. So, there's a lot of different food options available for everybody. Just to make sure that, everyone's getting that number one dining experience. I think my favorite dining hall is definitely Worcester. It's the main and central one. I would say it's my favorite just because it's closest to where I live. So I live in North Apartments right now, but I was in Northeast for the last 2 years as well. So I've, been on this side of campus. So I think I really like Worcester. A favorite meal would definitely be, so there's a lot of like, so we also have a place to get food called Harvest, which is basically more of a grocery store come like food place. There's like a food station as well, so you can get food in a brown box like and get it on the way. They have a lot of Indian food. They have a separate station for Indian food. They have chicken tikka masala, they have bhindi masala, they have paneer, they paneer tikka masala, they have tandoori chicken, they have aloo sabzi, like they have all of that. So they have like a lot of different Indian sabzis. And I think there's something that's really cool about UMass dining, which I didn't learn until like maybe my sophomore year, is that say if you have a recipe that you wanna that your mom makes or somebody at your somebody in your family makes and you want to eat that and you don't have the ingredients to make that, there's a form that you can fill out on the UMass Dining website where you give them the full recipe with like all the ingredients and stuff, like serves for like 4 people. So you give them the recipe and they'll actually make it for you and keep it in the dining hall. So I remember for like a month last year or something, or like every now and then last year in Worcester, there would be rajma, which is basically kidney beans, and it said like it was like a family, I forget like the last name, but like blank family kidney beans curry or something. So if you have a family recipe that you want to try out and you want to eat, you can actually fill out that form on the UMass Dining website and have them make it for you, and they're gonna keep it in the dining hall. So I think that's super cool.
Yeah, that is super cool. I That's the first time I'm hearing about that. I had no idea that that was a thing. That's
Yes.
cool.
Yes, if you just look up UMass Dining Family Recipe, that form should pop up. So I think that's super cool. Like I've been meaning to like fill out that form and like have them make like one of my family recipes.
Yeah. Well, especially if you're like really missing something from home when you get on campus and there's just like maybe one thing you're really missing, you can just like fill out that form and then it'll show up in the dining hall. That's really
Yeah.
cool. I'm gonna have to look at that because
Yeah.
I had no idea that was a thing until just now. Um, Let me see. So I want to talk about life in Amherst really quick, and then I think this is our last topic. So Suhana, um, what's been like your experience these last couple years, like living in Amherst and especially like do you feel like Amherst is welcoming to you as, an international student?
Yes, for sure. I love Amherst. Like, I actually love this. Like, I love being in downtown because every time I'm done with classes early, I'm just like, do you guys want to go to downtown? Because I love the vibe of downtown. There are these really cute, like, boba spots. There are a lot of cafes. It's super pretty with the lamps and everything. There's like a bunch of like green space that you can just have picnics, eat. My favorite restaurants are there. And I just love it. I've gone to that restaurant so much that they know my order by now. Like if I don't get that, they'll be like, "Are you sure you don't want to get that today?" And I was like, that's so sweet that you remember. But yeah, I love how welcoming everyone is. And especially I love what good weather does to everyone. Because like recently it's been super nice outside and every time I go to Amherst, there's just something. Like there's some like mini farmers market or mini like pop-up like stalls going around in the lawns and everything. And I was just like, wow, okay. And then I saw like a huge picnic and I was like, okay, I want to do that. And the fact that we have Amherst College also is pretty close to us is really nice because Amherst College is super pretty and they have this like one hike point which has the best sunset view ever. So I love just going up there with my boba in my hand and then with like some food that I want to eat there with my friends and we just end up going there just eating there and like having like a little picnic. And it's just so nice because yeah, you get to see a bunch of new things every day. So I would say life in Amherst is really nice. It's definitely not what I would have expected because I come from like a major city and I've been like a city girl my whole life. So I was like super scared that okay, I'm going into the suburbs. What if it's gonna be like super dead? What if like there's nothing going on? And it's honestly been so like it's been so calming because there's no traffic and there's no
Yeah.
like noise pollution. You're just
Yeah.
like there and there's just a bunch of stuff happening everywhere. And it's like the furthest thing away from dead. Like that is
Mhm.
something I promise it's not, at least in the good weather. So I
Yeah.
love Amherst and life there.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how, it does get really sometimes it gets quiet like in the winter because, there's not much you can do outside when it's, freezing out. But then it's kind of funny how like both campus and Amherst like just come back to life in spring and there's like immediately that first day where there's like the weather's good, you just see like so many more people and people just hanging out and so many like events and stuff going on. Like it's like a switch gets flipped and suddenly like Amherst like comes back to life, which is always really fun. There's just like something in the air in spring. But yeah, it's a great college town. I definitely enjoyed living in Amherst as well when I was when I was a student. It doesn't feel like even when you're coming from a bigger city, it definitely doesn't feel like it's gonna be like super rural or like dead. It still feels like there's a lot going on, but there's not this like traffic and noise pollution and like it's not as intense as living in a city. It's more quiet, but there's definitely a lot to do, and you're just surrounded by other students, which I think really helps as far as like, um, being able to focus more on studying during the week when you're really surrounded by like just other students who are also, in the same boat. Um, and then I wanted to ask about the like transportation and getting around in Western Massachusetts as well. So Ishan, do you feel like can you get around with just like the buses? Do you feel like you're stuck at all if you don't have a car or what's, getting around out in Western Massachusetts like?
Yeah, for sure. And I also, again, want to echo everything you guys talked about. I think one of my favorite events that happens in Amherst is the downtown block party, which is when the folks at downtown, like, they close off the entire street. And it's only pedestrians, and there's stalls everywhere. They're selling things. It's a lot of fun. Speaking of transportation, it is super easy to get around even if you don't have a car. That was obviously something that I was really worried about. I wish I could have brought my car from Delhi, but that's obviously not possible. But it's super easy to get around using the bus system. So we have like free buses running all around the area. They're called the PVTA buses or the Pioneer Valley Transit Authority buses. These buses are free for UMass students, from UMass staff, UMass faculty, any UMass community members. Even if you were bringing your parents over, they were visiting, they would also not have to pay for these buses. So these buses are free for everyone. These buses take you to downtown Amherst. So even though it's about like a maximum 15-minute walk to downtown from like the farthest part of campus, if you wanted to take the bus instead, you could take the bus. We have a bunch of different bus stops across campus, so find the bus stop nearest to your dorm. The farthest you're probably going to have to walk from your dorm to get to a bus stop is probably like 5 to 7 minutes. Take the bus, you can get to downtown, you can get to Hadley. Hadley is where our big shopping centers are. So if you want to go grocery shopping, you want to shop for your dorm, you want to go to Target, Walmart, Trader Joe's, TJ Maxx, Macy's, Marshalls, all that stuff is in Hadley. You can also get to Northampton, which is another college town in the area. It's a bit bigger than Amherst. That's where Smith College is. You can also get to Northampton through these buses. You can also get to Holyoke, which is we have a mall there. So you can if you want to shop at one of the big brands, you can also go to Holyoke Mall, and you can also get to Springfield or Worcester. So Worcester is the second biggest city in Mass after Boston. It's kind of towards between Western Mass and Central Mass, and that's the farthest you can get with these buses. And Worcester has a direct train line running to Boston. It's only about 40 minutes out of Boston. So, if you wanted to get to Boston that way, that's also a much cheaper option than taking the Peter Pan. You can take the bus to Worcester and then, take the train to Boston from there. So super easy to get around. If there are certain places, there are definitely places in Western Mass that the bus doesn't run to, like Chicopee or like, places like that. But you can always find Ubers in the area if, say, you really wanted to go to Chicopee for some reason. I know there's an Indian restaurant in Chicopee that a lot of people go to. You can do that. Or if you have a license, you can also book out zip cars. So Zipcar we have, so zip cars are a great resource for people who know how to drive. So say if you want to get somewhere that you think you wouldn't be able to get to with the bus, you can always, book a zip car. They have like hourly rates. You just have to like, pay, make sure the car is in good condition. And we also have like zip car parking lots on our campus themselves. So
Yeah.
there's certain parking lots where you can find zip cars and you can, book them out, take them wherever you want for like, a certain period of time and then come back.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's super easy to get around.
Yeah, the zip cards are definitely the bus lines are pretty like I feel like pretty extensive out in what in the PVTI lines. But yeah, if they're trying to go anywhere specific, you really want to go to like a specific restaurant or a specific bookstore, those zip cards are also a really good option. Yeah, so
Mhm.
I feel like our students
Yeah.
don't feel stuck, which is good.
Also, if you want to go to Hadley, you want to go grocery shopping, and you know you're gonna have a lot of bags that you wouldn't be able to carry on the bus, you can also book it. I've done that a lot of times. I've
Mhm.
booked a Zip car to get to Hadley so that I can, take my bags back and without like anything falling over in the
Yeah.
bus.
Yeah. So I before we wrap up, I just want to show our admissions process really quick. Um, we are on the Common App. So the Common App is open now, so you can already start filling it out to apply. Our first deadline we have coming up is our early action deadline on November 5th. Um, and our regular decision deadline is January 15th. So we only have those two. The only difference for us between early action and regular decision is really just when you get your decision back from us. There's no difference in competitiveness. Um, what we require on your Common App is your filled Common App. So with your essay, your extracurriculars, we ask you some UMass specific questions. We'll need your transcript from high school, or depending on what curriculum you're following, we might also require your external exam scores. So if you're following CBSE or CICS, CICSC, ICSC, I think that's what it is. I always that acronym always throws me for some reason. If you're following one of those curriculums, we require the official mark sheets that you receive from the actual exam board. So we won't be able to read your application if you only send the transcript from your school. Even if the transcript has the marks noted on it, we still need the official certificate. If you're following IB, we need your transcripts from your MYP or whatever curriculum you followed before you started the IB that are the equivalent to US grades 9 and 10. And then we'll also need your transcript from your IB year one, as well as your predicted grades from your year two if you have those at the time of your application. Um, if you're following the British curriculum, then just like the Indian curriculum, we'll need those official exam sheets from your GCSEs, your AS levels, your A levels. Um, and if you're following the American curriculum, we just need your transcript. So if you have any questions about what you need to send based on your curriculum, feel free to send us an email. We can always clarify. We'll need your English language proficiency test scores. So for IELTS, we need a 6.5, for TOEFL, we need an 80, and for Duolingo, we need a 115. And then at least one academic letter of recommendation, and we can take up to 3. Oops. And here are our scholarships. So we do offer scholarships for merit awards. You don't have to do anything extra to, we offer scholarships for international students, sorry. You don't have to do anything extra to apply for these. We consider you automatically when we get your application. So more than 90% of our international students do get one of these merit awards, and then it brings down your total cost. So that total cost includes your housing, your health insurance, your food, tuition and fees, and it brings down your cost for all 4 years. So you don't need to do anything to reapply for this merit award. It doesn't get spread out over 4 years. That becomes your new cost for each year. And that is all we have time for. We've gone a couple minutes over, so I'm sorry for that. If you have any questions after today or you need any help with your applications, these are our email addresses. So the second address goes directly to our international admissions staff, including myself. The third email goes to our team of tour guides, including Suhana and Ishan. So particularly if you have any questions about like a specific major or you want to chat with a current student, that email, the tours@admissions.umass.edu, that one's really good to reach out to. And if you want to learn more about our admissions process or our requirements, we also have weekly information sessions specifically for international applications on Wednesdays at 8 a.m. Eastern Time, which I think is 5:30 p.m. for anyone who's in India. So please feel free to register for one of those, or you can send us an email again if you want to know more. Um, but yes, that's all we have time for. So thank you so much for attending. And thank you, Suhana and Ishan, for sharing your stories. And hopefully, this session will give everyone a better sense of what it's really like to study here and live here and be part of our community. And hopefully, we'll be able to welcome some of you to campus soon. But with that, I will go ahead and end the webinar. And thank you again so much for coming.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.